Hey, what's going on, nerds? Just so you know, I'm really sick, and I haven't been this sick since I caught yellow fever back in the archaeologist expedition I took to Machu Picchu in 2003. So it's gonna be a little short. I might not explain myself very well, so let's get into it.
Is it worth it?
Khonshu is a 6 energy 5 power card that has 3 different phases. It does a lot of stuff and there's a lot of words. And instead of reading the card, I'll just summarize it. It goes back to your hand like Apocalypse, and when you play it out, whether it's 5 power, 8 power, 12 power, he sets a card that he brings back to that power as well. Overall impressions, I think this card's great. I will say I'm a little biased. I'm a discard boy. It's my go-to deck. It's my comfort deck. But I do also want to point out that no matter how good discard is, even if Khonshu's super great and it makes it like a really, really good deck, no matter how good discard is, it's never going to be like a meta dominant deck because it's predictable and there's a lot of ways to shut it down. But overall, like, what more can discard want at this point? I guess you could say make Meek better, but Collector is just Meek but better, really. And this card makes Collector better too, so that's cool. And not tooting my own horn here, but last week I said Fire Hair wasn't going to be great. It would be fun, but not very good. I was right about that. Matter of fact, I don't think I've ever been wrong. Go look at all my other review videos. 100% accuracy. And I think Khonshu is actually going to be pretty good, but not that fun. Like the opposite of Fire Hair. But what do you dorks think? Let's find out. The Kurgane coming back with another one. He says Corvus Glaive will be Fenrized from the discard pile, snaps dead cards, and will finally be decent again since it's limited Hella run. And if you don't really get what he's saying here, is he's saying this card's going to make Corvus Glaive good again and maybe include it into discard decks. And I agree for the most part. The things that are going to be discarded that are going to be brought back with Khonshu are either swarms, really, it's just going to be like swarm, or a discard spell that you discarded with like Modok or I don't know, one of your a blade or something. So yeah, maybe Corvus Glaive is put into this deck, and that way you can play out Khonshu on turn 5 if you want. Not a bad idea. Adam Lee says Khonshu is the noise I make when I put on my little Victorian pajamas and hat like Ebenezer Scrooge and go to sleep. I'm gonna be honest, Adam Lee, you're a smart guy, so I know this means something. I don't know what the fuck it means, but I like the words. Mr. Mr. Pato says, oh my god, this card is cracked. We got Jonathan Storms saying it's going to be a good Hella card. Actually disagree. I don't think this is a Hella card at all. I think this is a secondary top end to discard decks that run Modok, basically. We got Grivik saying unreliable discard, meet your new god. I get thinking this might be unreliable, but really think about it. All the cards that you discard, so there's Scorn, there's Swarm, there's Proxima Midnight, there's Apocalypse, and then everything else in the classic discard list is a discard spell or something like Morbius or Dracula. So I don't think it's unreliable at all. You're either bringing back a big swarm, you're bringing back an additional discard trigger, or you're bringing back one of your key cards in Morbius or Dracula. So that's cool. And then we got Sean saying, is it just me or does this guy have like no neck? It's just you. We got Gunny T saying too many words. Pass. I can't blame him. I hate books. All right, on to the good and the bad of Khonshu. First thing here, plug and play. I think it's pretty simple. You just pick the weakest card in the classic discard list, and you just put Khonshu in. You're done. I don't think you have to think too hard about it. So I'm not going to talk too much about it either. And also, I don't feel good. I'm like getting the flu sweats here. All right, next thing, makes discard less predictable. I know Grivok said something to this effect earlier, but I think what I mean here, at least, is that when you play Khonshu out on the last turn, the opponent can't really compensate for where that thing's going to end up or what it's going to be. It could be one of your discard triggers, it could be Morbius, it could be Dracula, it could be a big-ass swarm. And the main weakness of those generic discard decks is that they're super predictable. And if you try them out in like a tournament or in the Infinity Conquests, you don't really do well because inevitably you will just lose to tech cards repeatedly. And the last thing here, fills in the gap between Hella and Apocalypse. Basically, both decks, they're discard decks, obviously. And the gap between them is like one doesn't care to bring any of their cards back and one that's all it does. Well, this is kind of like a nice in-between between them. You can do the classic Apocalypse thing and get really big power off of key cards like Dracula and Morbius. And you can also do the Resurrect thing, like Hela does. So I think that's really cool. Onto the bad. Probably not flexible. Obviously, this is like a discard only card, but there have been decks in the past where it's like Lady Sif and Helicarrier in like a Devil Dino deck. That was more of a meme deck, but it happened and it existed even at the top parts of the ladder for a while. So, but for the most part, this is a one deck card. All right, and the last thing here, you have to play it out. At first, you look at this card and you're like, oh, this is a great like Apocalypse backup or whatever for your Dracula. No, you have to play this card out for it to be good. I guess in dire scenarios, or if you really want to like mess with the opponents and you just you try and outsmart them by actually playing out your Apocalypse and just having your Khonshu get discarded and have your Dracula be 12 power. But for the most part, you're going to want to play this card out. So yeah, it's a weakness. Most of the cards in discard, they're strong because you don't have to do anything with them. You don't have to play them out. And yeah. All right, on to an example deck list. Listen, like I said, I'm getting like the cold sweats right now. So I'm not going to go on too much about this. And also, it's a discard deck. What the fuck do you want from me? We have Corvus Glaive, so you can maybe play out Khonshu early. You know, playing Khonshu out as an 8 power card is not bad. You get an 8 power Resurrect with it, so why not? Just play Corvus Glaive, get rid of the Khonshu, bring back a card early, and then play MODOK on the last turn of the game. That's cool too, but whatever. Anyways, I'm using too many words. You know what this deck is. Moving on. All right, recommendation for Khonshu, whether or not you should spend your resources. Tokens. If you are missing some key cards, like you don't have Dracula, you don't have Morbius, you don't have Apocalypse, you can skip on Khonshu, probably. Just don't spend your tokens on the card unless you pretty much have all the stuff you need already. But if you like discard and you have all the cards already, yeah, I think it's going to be totally fine to spend 6k tokens on this card. Because in my opinion, discard decks in the future are just going to play Khonshu straight up. That's it. All right, on to keys. If you're missing Scorn, Corvus Glaive, easy pickup. Spend 4 keys, get Corvus, get Scorn, get Khonshu. I think that's great value. If you have Scorn and Corvus, then I would say the same thing as I did with tokens. Don't, unless you're just like me and discard is your comfort deck. But that's it. I'm about to pass out. I need to go drink some orange juice and take a bunch of NyQuil. Later, nerds.